Okay, today is day 2, class 2 of CAD 212. Today in class, we're going to be going over, well, I already took attendance. We're going to go over sketch discussions, why we sketch examples, and sketch presentations, why I had y'all sketch the front view of your house. We'll share your screens, and then you can kind of talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about the vocabulary. We're going to review a plan set and symbols, and talk about the midterm project, what's going to be going next. So this is pretty much the outline for today. And then that floor plan that we'll be discussing for your midterm project, that'll be due on Monday. On Wednesday, we'll be doing some other stuff in class, but I'll give you a week to get everything measured for the midterm project. So let's go ahead and jump into our sketch discussion. If we refer back to Canvas, you'll find everything should be starting to get live under your files. Under Spring 2022, I've got the lesson plans loaded in here for the one that I have on. What I do recommend to some students is if you like to take notes, print out the lesson plan information or type the lesson plan information, and you can make notes on that. And it's a way to keep your files, keep your information all set. So it's kind of an easy way to follow along and make notes if you like to do that. And then everything else will be located under documents. This will be where we find all of our documents and what we'll be kind of talking about today. So there's a lot of stuff we're going to be going over today. Just move that. And I'll make them live as we go through that. Anytime that I have a lot of stuff on Canvas, y'all, anytime you have an issue, you should always check to make sure that you have access to it. But if there's any time you don't have access to something or you're having trouble getting something on Canvas, let me know so I can get that, taken care of. I can reload it and make sure that's live for y'all. So this is what we're going to jump into today. So the first thing we want to talk about is sketching. Why do we sketch? Why are we sketching stuff in a CAD class? Well, sometimes the biggest ideas come from just a little hand sketch. It's hard to manipulate and sketch and change things and just get an idea on paper really quickly, trying to do that in CAD. So it's really important to keep up your skills as far as sketching ideas out. There's still ways that we incorporate this into business today. And usually when we're live in class, I do a little exercise where we incorporate that into our remodeling and renovation work. But unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do that in this class. We'll talk about it and explain how to do it. And we'll kind of play with it by there. But it's really important just to keep up those skills. And obviously, when you're out in the field, if anything happens to like your technology, it doesn't usually happen nowadays, but you want to be able to have some kind of backup to like sketch out what the idea is. And even if you're going out to a site and you're drawing your floor plan and things like that, you want to have that done, by hand, because it's just quicker and easier. And that's what you're going to be doing for your first project, is you're going to be creating a floor plan, a sketched floor plan of your living area. And we'll talk about how to do that in a little bit. But I want everybody to kind of take a look at this image on the screen right now. Anybody have an idea what this is?
It's a Guggenheim Museum.
Excellent. Somebody's seen this before, but it looks like a mess. If you weren't aware of it, you'd be like, yeah, I have no idea what this is. And that's the genius and the beauty of a sketch. Is like you can have something like this, but if you're the person that's familiar with it, you can just sketch out your idea, draw it out real quick, and then as it evolves into something that looks like this. So you can see from here to here, it's kind of spectacular. So we have the same issue here. This is with Geary as well. So we have something that looks like this. Doesn't look like anything to us. But as we go along, it moves into this building. And this is the IAC in New York. And I'm not just putting y'all on the hot seat, having y'all sketch stuff. I'll put some of my sketches out here for you. I'm not the best sketcher either, but I still try to use it just to get perspective and practice and things like that. So I just do like a rough sketch. It's just a quick one of mine. I think this one's pretty bad, but you get the point. So this is actually this place right here. So even though this doesn't look like anything really, it looks kind of weird, it is somewhat symbolic of this space here. This is a church in Saint Amant. It was done by a local architect called Trahan Architects, and it's just a really cool place. I recommend doing a little day trip up there if you want to, just to check it out. It's another view of it right here. And that's what this is supposed to look like right here. So you don't have to be the best sketcher in the world. You just have to be able to get your ideas on paper. I know we have some people who are real artists out there. I've seen some of y'all's work and it's really impressive. I'm jealous of that. But you know, not all of us have that, but we are able to create this in CAD and in Revit. So that's the important thing to remember. So that's just a little idea of why we sketch and some versions of it. The geary ones are the ones I really like. That, you know, it's like, wow, if he can sketch that down and bring his ideas to life and make it look like this, it's very impressive. So that being said, that's my share. So now we're going to go over some of y'all's work. I'm going to go ahead and let you share your screen. You should have that available to pull up. Is anybody ready to share first off? This is always everybody's favorite part. All right, no problem. Let me go ahead and do this. And I'm going to pull up and see who we've got, who turned in their work, and go there. All right.
The screen share is disabled.
Yeah, I close that down so you don't see everybody else's work and show one work at individual times. All right, 1 second. All right, Mohammed, you're up. I think you might be on mute.
Okay, I live in an apartment. This is a part of apartment.
Great, and we have just one large dormer on the top, and there's good detail with the brick, and we have what looks like a gable roof on the other side there. So anything that you want to bring to our attention on this? I like the way that you use the grid paper, because that always helps kind of keep everything lined up a little bit. And if you're just doing a sketch, not everything's going to be, you know, like if you're using a straight edge or anything like this, but this looks good. All right. Alejandro, are you here today? All right, that's a nice sketch. That looks really good. We've got some shading in here too. Nice. We'll just flip through these. If anybody wants to talk about their stuff, you can. Aaron, are you in class right now? So here we have kind of an elevated perspective of it with our gables, garage. I like the roof angle on this. This is nice, looks nice right here. So good job. I'll just flip through these. Lori, very nice. That's a nice strict elevation view on here. Obviously with a straight edge used on here, which looks really good. Good job. This is a nice light sketch. This is how I sketch, really light. Like you can see the other ones, but we get an overall view of everything that's incorporated into this. Looks like this may be an apartment building as well. Got the stairs. Good detail here. Nice job. Trey, we've got yours. Okay, this is a little confusing at first, but it looks like there's a carport here and a carport here along the front of the house.
It's a double.
Double carport?
It's a double home.
Oh,
It's a
double home.
duplex.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That is a hard perspective to get. So this does look it. I like the way you incorporated that. That looks good. Pavers, roof.
Hip roof with a flat roof for the carports.
Yeah, no, that looks really good. And then we've got our downspout here. Very good. Cool. And Rayshawn. Very nice. You want to talk about that a little bit? This apartment building in Minneapolis. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, as Sasha just mentioned, this is my apartment building. I'm sorry, can you all hear me? Can you hear
Yeah.
me? Okay, this is my apartment building in Minneapolis when I'm here, and well, spend most of my time here. And this is the best picture I can get going outside in -8-degree weather, trying to get a photograph of it. So it's the front of the building. It's a three-floor building. It's just a rather interesting look. It's not like a typical apartment building here in Minneapolis. It's just designed a little bit differently, and it's a brick design, but the brick is painted, so you can't really see the actual, you can't see that it's brick unless you're really close up. So it's very colorful. It's very designed to handle winter, and this just what I could do with,
Yeah.
with what I had.
Definitely.
So that's basically what I have.
No, that looks great. That looks great. Thank you so much, especially in the cold weather. And then Bradley, looks like we have old New Orleans bungalow or something right here. We've got our nice front porch with their windows. And nice detail here with the trim. I like all the detail of the trim work. That takes a lot of time. Very good. All right, that looks like everybody's stuff.
Can I share mine, Michelle?
Oh, yeah. 1 second, please. Let me set it up so you can. Oh, we are like this. That's where. Nice.
So this is my house in Vegas. Of course, I love how architecture is different every region, right? Like over here, you don't see shingles. All you see is tile roofing. and a lot of stucco, no siding, because it's over, 120 degrees every summer. So they try to keep, I guess, the heat from going in the houses. And this is my sketch.
Nice.
So I just capture a quick elevation of the front of the house.
Yes, very good. No, that's a good representation of it, and a good way to break up the roof tiles, the way you have that there with that break. Yeah, no, that looks great. Looks really good. And it just gets that general idea across about what's going on. So yeah,
Awesome. Thank you.
good job. All right. And don't forget to upload it. All right, great. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for sharing that. Let me get back to where I was. All right, I should be sharing the screen again. And now we're going to jump to files again. So next thing I want to talk about is a vocabulary. This is a lot of stuff we're just going to be going over, and I want you to review it. It's stuff that we're going to be using throughout the semester. And I'd just like to give this to you early so you're familiar with it, in case I come up with any, throw any vocabulary words at it you need to know. And then we're also going to talk about plans and symbols that'll be incorporated on your drawings. And this is all good information for you to refer back to as we start getting deeper into these drawings. So we're going to jump into documents. Remember, Spring 22, all this stuff is located under documents. First thing we're going to do is go to vocabulary. That should be live for you. If you're having trouble viewing it, let me know. Let me go ahead and open that up. And I'm not going to read through all of these, but I do want you all to go back and take note of what each one means. And we will skip a couple. So right off the bat, the two most important ones are architecture and engineering. Pretty much the way I see architecture and engineering is two sides of one coin. If we didn't have any architects in the world, we'd have a lot of well-made boxes. And if we didn't have any engineers in the world, some of these amazing designs that architects come up with would not stand. So it is a very symbiotic relationship. And you'll also hear people in one field complaining about the other. But really, they're two fields that really need to work together to create something amazing. Architecture is the art and science of designing a building and structures for human use, and engineering is the application of the scientific, economic, social, and practical knowledge in order to design, build, and maintain structures. So you can have someone much as Gary come up with like the most amazing looking building in the world, but we still need engineers to figure out how to keep it up and build it. So with those two, obviously we have contractors who are the ones that are actually charged with creating and building the building. Vendors, where do you get your supplies from? Overhead, basic stuff, cost of doing business, salaries, etc. Building codes is a big one. You'll hear that referred to a lot, especially in when you're creating a set of plans at a firm. And I'm sure you've heard a lot about building codes and consideration with what happened at the Hard Rock collapse. So building codes are very important. Obviously, laws and standards specifying the requirements for building construction, very much best practices as far as how to create this building so it's safe for people. Legend, a list of symbols and their corresponding meaning used on a set of plans, much like a legend on a map or anything that you're going to be using. Another big one is schedule. We'll be learning how to create a schedule in Revit. And it's a list of details or sizes for building components such as doors, windows, and beams. We'll learn how to do schedules for doors and windows and maybe a couple others. And this is just a way that we can show all the information on our plans about the different types of doors and windows we want to use without having that all listed within our plans. And you'll see as we get to the plan set that It can be very busy and a lot of information going on. So you want to have that information listed somewhere in the plans, but not necessarily on the floor plan itself. Specifications, this is another big one that we learned about within the architecture side of under the architecture program at Delgado, not so much CAD, because it is more specific to architecture, but since this is an architecture class, we really want to be aware that specifications are the written direction issued by the job to establish conditions, standards, and rules. What does all that mean? This is basically, along with your turning in your construction documents with your plans on it, you're also going to be turning in specifications. And this is just like basically books of information on how to build the building. And as it says, it specifies what type of walls should be created, what type of paint should be created. Depending on the size of the build out, specifications can be very small. If it's a small job and then the contractor gets that and they use that information to pick out the to buy the products requested by the architect. So when some of the projects I've worked on in the past, we've had like books worth of specifications depending on the size of the project. But that is the big one. If you're in Ms. A's architecture classes, she'll be going into specifications a little bit more, and it's kind of a good one to know. North arrow must be shown on a set of plans to represent the position of the structure on the planet. So when we draw something, it's not necessarily going to show true north. And when we have the arrow on a set of plans on ours, excuse me, on our site plans, it'll show the true north of the building, how it's supposed to be represented on the planet. Elevations, we're going to use that one a lot. Is the height of the survey set above sea level. So it means two things. So if this is sea level right here, this is the elevation from ground level, sea level upwards, or in architectural drawings, it also refers to the front view of a structure, front view, side views, rear view, or the interior elevations, things like that. It's like if you're standing in one point and you're looking at that wall, that's your elevation. Similar to what we did in a lot of those drawings that we created today. On center, we'll skip that one. Let's jump to plans. Plans is a set of drawings created to give all details of a project. It can also refer to a top view of a floor plan. Like we're talking about plan view. We're looking at that elevated view of the floor plan from the top down. And then also plans is the complete set of drawings. One thing that's not on here that I do want you to be familiar with is construction documents. Construction documents consist of your plans and your specifications. So construction documents are everything that you need. Here it is right here. Construction documents refers to plans and specifications used by the contractor to build the building. So when you're asked to turn in your documentation for a job, you're not just turning in your plans, you're turning in your plans and your specifications. So I like to bring this one to people's attention. Then also blueprints. Blueprints, an old-fashioned term used to describe plans. People still use this. It's still called blueprint reading and stuff like that. But nobody ever says, give me the blueprints when you're in a firm. It's always like, do you have the plans? Do you have the drawings? Do you have the docs? Do you have the specifications? So we still use this colloquially, but we don't really use it that often. So it is more of an old-fashioned term. Red lines. Red lines is a slang term for the process where architects make editorial notes on a set of drawings. This is a big one because usually when you first start out in a firm, the first thing you're going to be doing is correcting red lines. And that's where the main architect or principal architect takes the drawings that they have and they make changes on it. They may move a door 6 inches. They may eliminate a door. They may just kind of move things around on a set of plans to make it look more readable and things like that. And it's done with a red pen, so it's pretty straightforward, calling redlining. It's still done that way today. So that's all done by hand, and that's usually handed off to a junior architect and that's what you typically correct. So we're going to try to incorporate some redlining exercises into this semester so we can go from there. All right. We'll talk about setbacks and servitude a little bit later on, so you can read that. And that pretty much covers the vocabulary. Any questions about that, y'all? It's pretty straightforward. If you think of anything, just let me know. Next thing that we want to take a look at, we'll do our plan set and our symbols. So let me make this. All right, so if you can follow along on the screen, or you can open it on your laptop. So let's open the plan set first. Let me open this up from a different angle. All right. Okay, that's better. You can see the whole thing now. Great. Okay, so these are a very abbreviated set of plans from this project that was done where I used to work. And how it's broken down is obviously this is the title page. We'll learn how to create title pages. And on all of our sheets, all of our construction documents, we're always going to have this information here that was going to be incorporated in here. One of the big things that we want to pay attention to is the numbering system on here. Notice how this is G101. When we get the breakdown of the sheets, you'll notice that they're broken down by profession. So obviously G101 is just general information sheet. So this is just the general information. And then if we go down here, it gives us more information about the project. We have abbreviations. You can read through that a little bit closer. Symbols, we have a breakdown of this as far as the symbols we're going to be using. You can see they're a little bit more in depth than the ones that we're going to have. Project statistics, kind of read through these and you get some information about the project, which will be interesting. And we have table of contents here. So you can see in the table of contents, this is broken down by profession. We have our general information sheets, which are G101, 102. We have our civil sheets, which are with C, landscaping with an L, architecture with an A. This is just a way to organize the information to make it easier for you to find. So if you're looking for structural documents, you don't want to have to sort through a bunch of stuff. It's just like chapters and sections in a book. So then here you can go over here to structural documents and find that. All these are broken down into specific ways about how these sections work, such as in architectural drawings. Our A101 sheet is always going to be like our site plan. And then you'll see the A102s, your site plan details. Once we jump into the A201s, that's when you start working on floor plans, all different floor plans in the A200 section. In the A300 sections, that incorporates all of our elevations and goes from there. And we'll talk about that a little bit better. But you can kind of go through here and kind of see the in-depth information that's required in a full set of plans, more general notes. There's a lot of information on here that could be interesting for you to kind of read through and get an idea about what's going on in the set of plans. Another thing I want to bring to your attention on this is we will be creating a general information sheet. I do want you to keep note of where this is in Canvas so you can refer back to it when we get to creating our sheets later in the semester. And then also we'll be creating a vicinity map on our sheets as well. and incorporating that in there. So here you can see what the view of it looks like. And here we have what true north is. So from this picture, true north is going this way. And then our location is right there. So it's not going to be this big, but we will use a version of it. And we'll do a smaller version of that. This is the site plan for this project. Notice it's A101 for the site plan right here. A lot of information on this. We have elevation points that are listed all along here. All the information as far as kind of laying out the site. Look at the parking lot. So just kind of read through this, take a closer look at it. We will be creating a site plan. It will not be this to this scale, but you'll have a good idea of where it, what it looks like, how to create it. And here's our floor plan. So this is obviously for a gymnasium. A lot of information on here. Here we've got our column grids. We're not going to do a column grid in this class, but you can see the column grid runs this way. That aligns with the different sections of the building so we can keep track of it. Once again, it's a lot of logic, a lot of ideas of how to keep track of information within your plans. Some of the other stuff that we have here down that are highlighted. And as we go through the symbols, you'll notice how these kind of represent. These are detail views. And in our detail views, notice that we have a number and a page number here. So on page A251, drawing 1, that's what this is. This on the page A251, drawing 9, that represents this section right here. So when we go to our section views and we go to our details, here's that drawing 1 from page A251 and gives us the plan detail of how this wall is built. Now, when we're creating the drawings and we're creating the model, there's so much information that is left out of our regular floor plan. I mean, if you look at this, there's no way you could break down all this detailed information into that floor plan. So that's why detailed drawings are so important. Detailed drawings are kind of touched on a little bit more within your architecture classes, and Miss A kind of goes over those a little bit more. We'll be kind of touching on these and kind of going from there. A lot of times these are drawn within CAD as well, not so much in Revit. But you can see how the main importance is how to find these within a set of plans and how they represent different locations. And you can see this level of detail here. So sometimes when we're drawing something in Revit, people ask, well, what about this? What about that? You know, that doesn't look actually right. It's like, well, remember, this is you're creating a model for your client to see what it looks like. So not always we're going to get all this detailed information in here from that Revit model. A lot of times the pure plans, how to put it together, are in your details. So remember that as you go through and kind of think about how the building gets put together. This is information about your schedules. You can see that there's a lot of doors and windows and louvers and stuff listed in this one. This is how we incorporate all this information into our plans without having to, you know, busy up and like dirty up the actual drawing itself. There's enough information in that floor plan and the elevations. So we have these incorporated over here into our schedules, and they have schedule of openings, which includes their doors, windows, and they have louvers on here. So we will be creating schedules to incorporate into our plans. So a lot of information in here, just touched on that really briefly. I do want you to go back and really kind of take a look at this and read through it. And remember to refer back to this when we start laying things out when we start creating our sheets in class. Okay. Let's jump into our symbols, and you'll see that those symbols are a lot of the same ones that were on that set of plans. If it decides to open. So most of them are pretty self-explanatory, and obviously a simple dimension line. We have a leader right here. This to bring attention to anything specific in the project that you have to want people to know about. We're going to do room tags. We'll learn how to do room tags as well. Equipment tags we're not going to bother with. Sometimes we'll use equipment tags in the MEP class. Level elevation, this is an elevation for height, obviously how high it is. We'll learn how to create levels and add different levels within a Revit plan. Window or louver tag, door tag. This little tic-tac looking one is the one I like to use, not necessarily this one right here, but you could see it represented either way, but the one we'll use is like this little tic-tac. We're not necessarily going to use material tag, it's good to know, or keynotes. This is the way that we can also specify more information on the sheet. Partition type will be for walls. We're not necessarily going to use that. Partition types would be types you want to use if it's going to be a brick wall, if it's going to be a fire rated wall, things like that. Ceiling materials, ceiling height, we're not going to use those. And detail tags. This is one that you'll need to know, but we're not necessarily going to be using within our project. But is one that we took a look at over here that is very important. So you'll see that on a lot of other plans as well. Elevation tags. You can see these guys are all over the place. On these elevation tags, you can see that this is elevation 1 on sheet A301. Same numbering here. This is drawing 17 on sheet A803. So, excuse me, we have our elevation tags and then also section tags. We'll be using sections a lot, and this is just a way to, just like you do with other section views within your CAD projects. It's just a way to slice that house, so to speak, or a building, so to speak, so you can take a look at the interior of it. We'll talk about that a little bit more in depth as we get to that point. And then the column grid. We don't necessarily use the column grid in this class, more in the MEP class. All right. Any questions about any of that, y'all? Lots of information just for you to review when you have time. So other stuff that we have in here, let's make this live now. So this is sheet numbers. This is how the sheets will work. We'll go into this a little bit more later on, but since we're talking about sheets now, I don't know why it's taking so long. So you can see here, I'm going to have the sheets that we're going to be using within class. And as we get to the midterm, end of the midterm project and start creating the sheets, and I'll tell you which ones you're going to use. And then the same for the final project. So you have G101 title sheet, A101 site plan, A201 architectural floor plan, A301 your building elevations. You can see how that's broken down from there. So also, refer back to this when we get to that point. We'll be using sheets. And then finally, this information sketch. I think that's just the sketches we went over. Yeah, that's just an example for y'all. And then another thing that you're going to want to use between now and Monday as you create your floor plan for your home, you'll want to refer back to this one. And this just gives you some ideas of how to sketch. I like this one, how to create your floor plans. When we create our floor plans, we're not necessarily going to be using our cabinets. I want you to pretend like the house is just, empty. So don't worry about the cabinets for now. but I like this on how this works. We download that so we can take a closer look at that. So here we have our measurement from here to here, from this wall, and then we have our measurement from this wall to this wall. We should have a measurement from here to where the door opens, the door opening, and then the door opening to this other wall over here. So you just want to follow along there and get those different ideas. This is pretty much what I do when I go out to a property. I'll just do a basic sketch of the way it's laid out, and then I'll add my measurements after that. So we have our wall measurements. We have our measurements between our window and our wall, our window and our door. So you want to get as many measurements on there as possible. One of the nice things about using your house for the first one is that, you know, as we're creating the first floor plan, as we start drawing this out on Monday, you'll notice that, oh, I missed this measurement over here. I need it. While you're at home, you can just go ahead and measure it there. So it's a nice way to just kind of make things a little bit easier for you, which is why we use your home for your first example. Here's just another example of how to create these drawings. Here's another sheet that we have sketched out. We've got the overall dimensions on the outside, which is nice. And then we have the, you know, it's dining room. It's 10 by 11 and it's 110 square feet. You know, this is another way you can do it, but I prefer to see the dimensions written out along here. It just makes things easier for you when you draw it. So I would have a measurement from this interior wall to this interior wall, from this interior wall to the opening of this window, the window opening, and then the window opening, and to the wall. So it's a lot to do the first time, and you know, sometimes it gets a little frustrating for people, but you just want to kind of start in one point, maybe have that sketch done, start in one point from there, and then just follow along and get each dimension. So you've got this one, and then you've got this one, and then the window opening, and then from the window opening to this wall, from this wall to this opening, the opening measurement to this wall, and then this wall to this opening, the opening measurement, and then the opening to this wall. So you're just going to follow along like that. So it would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 measurements, not including the entire length and width of each room, which we should have when we add these together anyway. Pretty straightforward. Does that make sense? How to start measuring your floor plan, how to create that at home. I think these are two good examples. And I do like kind of a mashup of the two of these. So let me make sure those are live. Yeah, all that should be live and accessible to y'all. So let's jump back to the project overall. So that's going to be, we're going to be starting with measuring your house. We did a quick idea on how to measure overall exterior measurements. We talked about how to measure on the interiors. You do want to get the height of your floor to ceiling on here. There's different ways we're going to be generalizing a lot of stuff in this initial project, because everybody has, if you have an older house, you're going to have maybe a thicker wall than if you have a more modern house. In some of our older houses, they have true measurement lumber, which means that, you know, nowadays a 2x4 is actually a 1.5 by 3.5. If you measure that, it's not a true 2x4. But in some of our much older houses in New Orleans, we have true measurement lumber, and a 2x4 is actually 2 inches by 4 inches. A more modern house would be, you know, 1.5 by 3.5. And once we start actually creating our walls, you'll see how that is going to make a difference. So there's going to be some generalities that we'll be taking just to make things easier for everybody and to make things more, you know, streamlined for the class. Another thing that you want to take a look at in heights is your ceiling. Also doors. Some door, especially in our older buildings, some of those doors are much larger than our more modern doors. And then you also want to measure from the floor to the interior of the windowsill, and then also the height of the windows, because Revit has a lot of ways that we can get our doors and windows to pretty much close to exactly what we already have represented. And once you get into some of the more advanced stuff in Revit, you can actually create doors and windows. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. We don't do that in this class, but if it's something that you wanted to learn, it's really easy for you to learn to do that on your own. So that's pretty much it for class today. That's a lot of information. We'll go ahead and post the recording this afternoon and open for any questions or anything. But everything is pretty much here in the lecture. When we come back on Wednesday, we'll have more information to go over with. We'll start getting into Revit a little bit, just kind of playing with it. So when we actually start doing our drawing, start our project on following Monday, a week from today, you'll feel a little bit more comfortable with Revit. So just a lot of lecture heavy stuff for this first week, and then we're going to actually start your project, which is why I give you a week to get your floor plan sketched out, and we'll start that next Monday. Any questions about anything we went over today, y'all, or in general?
So are we meeting on Wednesday?
We are meeting on Wednesday. We've got more stuff to go over on Wednesday. It'll be a large lecture. Well, maybe not large, but a lecture on Wednesday. And then on Wednesday, we're also going to be, getting into Revit and talking about how Revit works. So it's like a little intro to Revit without having, so you can feel comfortable with it, kind of play with it until we actually start the drawing on Monday. So yeah, we will be talking about Revit, having a lecture.
Hey, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
It's about Revit.
Yes.
So on the download page, there's two options. Do we need both?
Off of the AutoCAD site?
Yeah.
You need Revit 2020.
2020?
Yeah, 2020, not 2021 or 2022, Revit 2020.
Okay. And then
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And then there's a Revit generative design. Do we need that?
No,
okay.
Just regular Revit class, Revit 2020. It's real important that everybody works in 2020. And yeah, we've had two upgrades since 20, two upgrades since this one. But the things that Revit changes or updates or anything is not anything that's going to affect our intro classes. So nothing to worry about there. If there is anything that's important, to always bring that to your attention so to keep up with that. But yeah, let's just everybody work in 2020.
Gotcha.
Okay. Any other questions, y'all? All right, cool. If no other questions, we'll go ahead and this will be class for today, and then I will see y'all on Wednesday.
Okay, see you.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great day.
Have a
You
good
too.
day.
Thank you. Bye. Take care.